Thank you very much, Bundala, and greetings to everyone, distinguished guests and the attendees. It's a great honor to be part of today's conversation because at a time like this in the continent, as we're faced with a lot of challenges occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as also, of course, economic-induced hardships that we're facing across the continent. There is no better time as this for us to engender a conversation that tries to look at the issues, as it were, and the challenges that leadership is facing. And we must pause and ponder and ask ourselves a very important question. What will the great Madiba, Nelson Mandela, do at such a time like this? And one of the major things we've come to know as students of the great Madiba is that he is one that is a merchant in hope. As succinctly captured by Napoleon Bonaparte, a leader is a dealer in hope. And at a time like this, there is no better thing to do than to, of course, promote and engender hope. We know that as a continent, we are faced with a lot of challenges, a lot of leadership issue, crisis here and there. But there is no better time to assure our people that these challenges will only serve as a springboard towards the future that we crave and truly desire. And for us at African Leadership, this has been our lifelong passion. Over the past 13 years, we've been committed to promoting, of course, leadership, purposeful leadership, and assuring all those that we come across that Africa, we have a resurgent Africa. We are, simply put, retelling the African story. Away from the tried headline of hunger, war, and famine, we are telling the world that Africa is the next, of course, current, not even next, destination that if you're not in Africa, of course, you are nowhere. It ties in very, nicely with, of course, the great Madiba's position, as it were, that at a time like this, what would we do? Would we sit back and look at the challenges that we're faced with? Would we sit back and begin to count our losses? Or would we dust ourselves up and look at the future that beckons, that is coming? And that, of course, it's what we've been about. Through our events and programs, we've been committed to showcasing the best of Africa. We have been committed to looking at the best in people, in leaders, as it were, because we know that leadership would make all the difference, as it were. When the push comes to shove, it is leadership. The ball stops at the leader's table. But at the end of the day, we understand that inherent in every leader, no matter how you see him or her, is the desire to do good. But the vicissitudes of life sometimes distract them or hinder them from doing what, as it were, is necessary for the upliftment of humanity. But we also see that by bringing them together, celebrating them, and encouraging them, we have engendered peer review. And this peer review is to say that if A can do it, then B can also do it. We're not ignorant of the fact that these challenges, we have a lot of challenges in the continent. But we're also of the view that amidst these challenges, there are opportunities that we must look inwards and tap into, draw from, to be able to move to where we desire as a people. And dare say also that the founder of the African Leadership Magazine, Dr. Ken Giambi, is a huge student, of course, a diehard student of Nelson Mandela. If that had not been the case, he wouldn't have been, drawn into this life of purposeful leadership, promoting purposeful leadership. We've celebrated leaders across various platforms, and our message has been simple. The people are looking up to you to do what is right. They have invested hope and trust in you because they believe that you hold, of course, the ace to make the difference in their lives. What would you do with this opportunity? And because we've seen that the great Madiba, time and again, even when he was faced with a lot of challenges, he had looked at these as opportunities. He has also seen that rather than go against his adversaries, he was committed to saying, look, rather than preach hate, we must spread love. And at a time like this, as a people and as a continent, we must look back and look at some of the principles, leadership principles that we've been taught. It has been loaded in books. It's been loaded in, of course, a lot of conversations, seminars, and symposiums that he was part of during his lifetime. In this time of crisis, we must go back and begin to consult these books and begin to consult some of the things that he has lived for. And it will be a great disservice to our generation yet unborn, that he bequeathed a continent or a country that he believed should be led by love, and to look back and see that the people he has put in trust to hold forth until we meet again beyond, that they are not running the race as it should be. So I encourage us all, business leaders, political leaders, whoever we may be, we are as stakeholders in the Africa project. And the only way that we can make a difference is to ponder, pause and say, look, we have come this far, we have made these mistakes, but here, of course, we have decided to stop and reflect and see what it is that we have gotten wrong and how do we move from here. I guess that when we do that, or I know that when we do that, so much will change for us as a people. A continent of over a billion, of course, of averaging over 1 billion people. We are we're a market that is hungry for product. Let that be the reflection, and let's look inward and see how we can promote trade, how we can promote conversations around job creation and infrastructure. In fact, the COVID-19 pandemic research has shown that has pushed us. It has pushed further constraints on our infrastructure, especially health-wise. And of course, you know that economies who were doing very well before, because of the issue as it were, as it relates to the finances of these economies, a lot has been, there's a lot of issues around economies now. So what we must do at this time is to look at how we can build back better. The wonderful thing about the pandemic is that even though it is such a huge loss for a lot of companies, economies globally, it has also presented a fresh start for countries and continents like Africa. So it means that if we have a clean slate to start, we must ask ourselves that difficult question and find answers. Where do we begin? We have a dire need for infrastructural development. We have a dire need, of course, for job creation. Would we sit back and look at our differences? Would we sit back and look at what divides us? Or would sit back and look at what unites us and how we can build back better? I think as we go forward in this conversation, these are some of the questions we must answer as we look at all the issues and also look at authentic leadership, servant leadership, as well as champion leadership. These should be reflective of what and the challenges we face today and how we can advance from some of the issues we have. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you and I welcome you to this conversation as I hand over to my colleague, Wofai, to take us to the next stage of this event. Thank you and God bless us all.